to sign in. It's nice to have a written record of who's in attendance at these meetings. We do appreciate that. So here we are at the Grant County Planning Commission Wind Work Session number 5. And again, as in past sessions, this isn't really a public forum. We had a public forum 2 weeks ago where we had the opportunity to hear comments from the public regarding proposed wind energy system regulations. The board is going to be spending some time tonight discussing the wind energy regulations as proposed and maybe looking at other options as well. At any point in time, the chair would recognize any planning commissioner's right to ask questions of the audience if there's something that they've had questions on, some things that they've heard over the last few weeks. So basically, tonight, the Planning Commission is tasked or charged with one specific action item, and that's just to determine a course of action on how to proceed. If you all remember, last March, the County Commissioners instructed you to review the ordinances, come back with some suggestions or recommendations. We had a public forum early on in the process. We've had several work sessions where we've talked about different aspects of the existing zoning regulations. You went on a wind tour and took a look at wind tower facilities. 2 weeks ago there was a second wind forum to provide input on rules and regulations that you had put together, at least to hear a general reaction to. Then as soon as last week, there was a Board of Adjustment decision, or a public hearing, at which time a caveat of that decision was to postpone action on that permit until rules have been reviewed and looked at by the County Commission. So, because you do have an open item out there, there probably is something of a sense of urgency to go back and look at what you've been doing and coming up with this course of action. And from facilitators' my perception is that I think you have three paths, and maybe you can think of a fourth or fifth path as well, but at least there's 3 paths that I see. One is that we can continue to meet periodically, continue to discuss, continue to come up with ideas for improvements that can be made to the wind energy system regulations without any end in sight or anything coming up relatively soon. The other option, I think, is kind of a twofold option. One is you can discuss the rules as prescribed tonight, think about what you've heard over the last couple weeks, think about all of the items that are on the website that has the hundreds of pages and dozens of articles that have been provided by the public and by some of you and by some county commissioners as well, and some wind developers to influence you, to educate you on what should be included in a zoning regulation. And where you're at tonight is you have a draft that a month ago you said we think this is a good starting point. We wanted to hear from the public. We did that 2 weeks ago, and now you're here to the point where we need to keep talking and do a deeper dive into specific things, or are you ready to make amendments to the document as it is, or are you ready to move the document as it is forward so that you can start the adoption process? And depending on how it moves forward, if, say for example, you decide to amend or not amend, but you still decide we want to get this moving, I put down a potential adoption process together. This is by no means, this is in a perfect world, if there's no more further amendments and the discussion and you move forward with something tonight. There would be a notice published on the 4th of December in the newspaper. The Planning Commission could hear it then as early as the 17th of December, at which time the Planning Commission would have a public hearing. The public would be invited to comment on proposed rules as written. The County Planning Commission could, again, make more amendments to the rules at that time. They can continue the public hearing process on that, or they can make a decision to move forward and make a recommendation to the County Commission. If they do that, the county commission could hold first reading the next morning on Tuesday, the 18th. And if the county commission so chose, they could turn around and still take action on it before the end of the year at their last regular meeting on the 27th, or they could turn it over into the first meeting in January. If they were to approve it, say they go through the hearing process, it gets approved, the county commission would then have the notice of adoption published on the 2nd of January, and the new rules would go into effect as early as January 22nd, 2019, unless a referendum is invoked. Now again, that's if all the ducks line up, there's no more consternation, there's no more changes, and things move forward. The other thing that to bring into the county commission, say that on the 27th of their second reading, they decide that they want to make amendments that you as the planning and zoning board have not considered. State law gives two provisions on how that moves forward. They could refer it back to you for another public hearing to talk about what the county commission would like to maybe see different in the ordinance. Or the county commission themselves could have another public hearing 2 weeks hence from that date, and then they could vote on it then, and it doesn't have to come back to you as planning commissioners. That's at the druthers of the county commission. So that's kind of, we're getting close to picking a path on how you want to proceed moving forward. And I'm here tonight just to listen to what you want to do. And then based upon what you want to do, if it's to make more changes to this, to add new things, or if it's to say we want to keep talking about this for another couple months, or we want to move forward, we need to let staff know on how to proceed. And so given that as an introduction and a brief overview of how we got here today, Madam Chair, I'm just going to put it back in your chair to decide what you want to do.
Does the board have some discussion items you want to bring up? Any of you? Todd did change the wording on the one that we discussed about the noise level.
Yeah, we talked about that in the draft that you might have. I'm not sure. I know we provided it prior to the public forum if you didn't go out and pick it up off the website, but there was language changed from the original draft in early October to what was decided that night, and that was to add language. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I gotta find it. I'll get it.
Yeah, and then can you possibly put it up there then?
I will do that.
Okay.
Hang on.
Could be number 14.
Under number 14. Gotta get this thing shut off just right. Okay, there it is. Under number 14, the board at that time said that they would, if at the time they were talking about the PUC standard under the most recent dockets, where there was a 45 dBA to be measured 25 feet from the perimeter of the residence, non-participating resident, and then we left the 50 dBA for the participating. So that was the language change that was different from what we originally talked about, but this was what was made available prior to the wind forum that was held 2 weeks ago. You might have. This is what's here is what is on the website. It's been on the website for several weeks. What you've got is what was originally talked about a month ago. I guess the question is, and maybe I'll try to help prod you along for the discussion. Is there anything that was brought up at the Wind Forum 2, is what I'm going to call it, the last meeting 2 weeks ago, or anything that's happened or that you've come across or read on the website or on your own that you would like to see incorporated or changed within the draft as it has been to date generally approved by the majority of the board?
You know, after that hearing 2 weeks ago, I think we all had a chance to think about some things, and I know I did, and I went online and reread a couple of items, and, you know, honestly, there was nothing, for me, to change that night. I think we've got a good set of changes that we put a lot of time and thought into. Madam Chair, I think it's time to move forward. If you're ready to accept the motion. motion, I would move that we move forward with the,
He can make the motion. He can make the motion. As a parliamentarian, the next would be a second to that motion. Is there a second to
So I
the
do
motion?
have a motion to approve
I
the
can
changes
second
that
it.
were-
I'll second it.
Now there is discussion. If, just a moment, please. There's a motion and a second. The next step would be, Madam
Is there
Chair,
any
is there
discussion?
discussion on the motion? If someone wants to have the discussion on the motion, whether it's to introduce new things, the time would be now.
Go ahead.
I feel that the setback for the non-participating, we're offering the same setback for the non-participating as we are to the participating with waivers. And I just feel that it's inadequate. I don't think it steps up to the plate and protects people's health, wealth. It just needs some room for people that are not participating. We don't have to stand on the heads of people who are not going to get any gain from this and put them in a position where either through a waiver they can have some protection.
You have a substitute motion or an amendment?
I would like to amend it, that it would be 3/4 of a mile
There is a motion on the
for
table
non-participating.
to change the table 1211-1 wind energy setbacks from 1,500 feet to 3/4 miles for non-participating residents, business, church, school, with, the waivers in there, yeah. So is there a second to?
I second it.
There's a motion and a second discussion on the amendment.
I definitely think that when we started this process, when the zoning process was started, the idea of the zoning process was so that we could put things in different places so that we would protect people. That's why you have industrial zones in towns. You have, but all of this is, we're looking to try to protect people so that I can't buy land beside you and do whatever I want to with it just because I own the land. And this is letting that happen. It's going to, besides, there's some things in here about it that we aren't sure about. This infrasound is one of the big ones, because I really feel that from all the reading that is on the internet that we're looking at, that it is affecting some people. It probably isn't affecting all the people, or maybe even most of them, but it is affecting some people. I think the 3/4 of a mile gives us a little protection, and it also gives the people a chance to protect because this is moving in, okay? The people who own acreage or something like that, their value, I feel, is going to be hurt. This will give them a waiver. They can decide at that point, either leave it 3/4 of a mile away and then leave my price where it happens to fall, or I'll take a little bit of money and sell the place, and then hopefully I'll break out even.
Yeah, I just think 3/4 of a mile would be really
From non-participating.
Yeah, but it's still taking a lot of property rights away from the people who want to sign up for these projects. Because 3/4 of a mile away from, I mean, if you own a quarter section and you're able to participate, there's no way you can participate, because
If they'll grant you a waiver, you can participate.
Yeah.
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 And,
Yeah.
and,
Well,
yeah, and I-
but it's there.
But then
I
it's up
don't,
to the other-
you're driving out in
it's up to your
your
neighbor.
driveway and having a tower a quarter of a mile away seems a little close to me also.
And I think too, if there's somebody, if you have certain people, I agree with Bob, that I don't think it's gonna be everybody, but I think a few people are gonna be affected by it. And that's proven the case of what I've read, the things on the, that we've been given for testimony, both verbal and written, that, some people, but you might wanna call them hypersensitive or whatever, if that's what you wanna call it, but it's still a factor. And it can take away their quality of life. The quality of life is threatened. Why not give them some protection? Give them, if they're comfortable with it.
I just think infrasound, to me, if it's something that the human ear can't even detect, we know anything transmitting electricity is probably giving that off.
No, this is a sound that's, when they were talking about it, last week, he said that you could measure infrasound 6 miles away from a tower.
But is it coming from the tower?
Yes.
That's what I
Yes,
don't understand.
It was coming from the tower, it has,
You guys
But
have
it's-
microphone, we can't hear a thing. Or we'll move up front.
I think it's something that exists with a lot of other things besides just a wind tower. That's what
that's probably
I mean-
true, but this is,
but now
this
you're
is something
targeting
that's-
wind towers, so.
And we, you know, it's not as if we haven't increased it. I mean, we're increasing from our current setback, and I think we're providing some balance here. I don't believe 3/4 provides any balance.
I think it's
just a
It's taking
mechanism
too much away from the
to stop
participate.
the project.
I would recommend coming closer, doesn't seem to be a battery in here.
We are, I mean, I understand it, and I think it's very important that we look at that, but we also gotta remember the participating too. You know, they have rights too, you know, so, like Mark made mention, we tripled the setback, basically, we were 500 feet, is that correct? Or 1,000, from the participant, 1,000 from the, okay, doubled it, you know, put it back, you know, so we did increase it. I don't know
I would
if.
prefer that you guys just sat. Sometimes it can be intimidating to have people standing over your back, so I would just assume have you sit.
And the other thing is, I mean, you think that these non-participants are gonna get paid something.
well, that's
I
what
mean-
you're talking, you know, when we were down and did the tour, Jim Nichols was talking about, well, he would sooner see a bunch of small towers in, so more people got to be get paid. That was one of the things that he mentioned when we were down there. And then, okay, so if you have the right to negotiate with the wind company, whether or not you're going to let them come closer, how are you going to, are you getting out of it? That's a possibility that you would get something out of it.
I don't think that.
When we were
Then
down,
they should be a
Of course it is.
participant. Then they're a participant.
Yeah,
if
that's
they're going
right,
to
and
do
they're a
that.
participant. But to get to be a participant,
I mean-
they're still at the 1,500 feet, and they're getting paid a little bit of something.
them
It might take away money from the people who have the towers, or else it's gonna take away some money from the wind company. Somebody's going to have to give here, but
Them generators make noise too, so if you're not a non-participant, they say, okay, now you can have a shorter tower on your land, I'll put a shorter one here. Now you got the tower, are you gonna take it or no?
Why is
Well,
somebody with a
they aren't
conflict of
going-
Sorry,
interest
No.
there's no public comment,
That's
it's
what
on
I'd
the
like
discussion
to
of the
know.
board.
Why is somebody with
This is the
conflict of interest
discussion of
making
the
a
board
law?
of the
Let's
board.
You shouldn't be on the board.
The board is
Hold it,
only
hold it,
discussing.
hold
The
it,
discussion of the
hold
board.
it, hold it, you
No,
can't,
sorry ma'am.
No
Sorry.
input.
Well, we'll just
Sorry.
Then
use
why are you
that
even on the
for
board?
our-
You're making
use
rules to
that
benefit
for
yourself
your
and line your own
Destoy
pocket.
then.
That's your prerogative, ma'am, but this is
Okay.
a board discussion.
It makes
This is a
no
work session.
sense.
I'm acting as the
Two
parliament.
people were recused before.
we gotta quit, we
Ma'am,
gotta stop.
ma'am,
makes no
I will-
sense.
I will, I
Stop.
will ask the
Makes no
sheriff
sense.
to come
He's
and
on his way.
excuse you
He's on
from,
his way.
Cool.
If you want to argue, that is not
I can call him
tonight.
too, I got his number.
Go ahead.
The issue is
I
the
mean,
board's discussion.
that they aren't going to put down smaller towers, because the way they're making money, and actually, you know, this wind thing, I think is very good, and I think that we're gonna get some cheap electricity. But they're getting it cheaper by making the towers taller and making the blades longer. That's in this information we have, that's what they're looking to, you know, they go out to the ocean and make them extremely tall, and the only reason they can't make them extremely tall here is because of overland transportation. That's the only, and if they're working on trying to figure that out when they're putting the ones along the coast, if they can figure it out how they can make this so they can bolt it together or whatever, they're going to do it here. Because the higher you get, the more wind, and the longer the blades are, the more wind you get. So they aren't going to get smaller towers.
Well, you just said they'd like to get a
That's
smaller
what
tower.
Nichols suggested. He said, what I would like to see instead of the big towers is more smaller towers so more people would get money. So more farmers would make money at it.
But then they are a participant. It's only the participants. And not only that,
That's
the
what,
renewable
that's
thing is not
what the
gonna go away.
negotiation is about. Is getting in
So
here
you're
to make.
thinking they're gonna pay you more money to come closer to your property?
That's
I
right.
can't hear.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I-
That's,
I-
if you give them, if we give 3/4 of a mile to the non-participants, and the wind company thinks that is an extremely good place, they will negotiate with the person who isn't participating.
It gives them some ground to stand on.
Yes, definitely.
And the whole thing, it helps out in other things too, you know, whether it's through location, tweaking the setup the way it is through their engineering process. There's room, if it's done, it can be done. And, I don't know, I just think it would help on everything. It's not just infrasound, it's the basic sound, it's the flicker, it's, anytime you can get that just a little bit further out, it's gonna help in that quality of life for people who are not participating in the project.
What about the participating? We just, they're all right. Don't worry about it.
That's their choice.
Exactly. They have a choice too.
Yeah, there's a lot of property owners
You know.
And
that are
Tom,
just going to be
look at
left out.
the land area that's signed up in the project we just considered. It's gotta be 85% of the landowners that are in it. So there is significant benefit to this county. From that, we're forgetting the tax benefits, the construction benefits. I think, we've looked at these things, we've taken some balance on this, and now at the 12th, 1 minute before midnight, you're saying we should go to 3/4. There's no basis.
But the board we had seated last week agreed.
I'm not sure if they did or not.
Well, yeah, the vote was 4-3, obviously they did.
Right, because you're accused.
I didn't think there was any confusion. I think it was just,
there is room. I'm for the wind energy team. I feel it offers economic benefits. My voting record proves that. But I think there's room for compromise here.
And I don't think 3/4 of a mile is a very good compromise
No.
myself. I think it's just taking way too much away from those that want to participate. Because you're basically relying on your neighbor. Well, if you'll go pay my neighbor some more money so that he'll let you to come in closer, then I'll participate. And I don't think that's right. But
And they might not even,
yeah, it might not, but
the option is,
they'll go somewhere else.
it gives them,
well,
And
it
we're
depends on
basically shutting them
how
out.
much, how much value our sites are.
I mean, I've been on Google Earth and I've looked at those down at Lake Benton. And you can draw yourself a nice little line there and it tells exactly how many feet. And there are brand new houses there that property, it's beautiful property there. And I have a daughter that's gonna be moving down there,